Well, I'm back working on the 57 Golden Hawk and getting most of the exterior done. Got all the glass in and most of the trim. And I thought I'd take a break and work on the dash. The only thing I've got left on that, I've got to install the radio and get a tach in. And the tach is the original Stewart Warner pulse drive unit, and I've decided I just don't want to deal with that thing. They're not real reliable, and I'm just going to convert it using a 63 GT tach. So what I've done so far is gotten one of the tach sending units from Myers Studebaker, good company there. It's probably the second or third one I've gotten from them. And I've just added some wiring to it to attach it into the dash. Just so that I remember, the green wire goes to the ground on the tach. Here we go. The brown wire goes to the brass connector on the tach. And the brass one is this side right here. You can see this side is steel. So once it's mounted in the car, that's the passenger side. So the brown wire goes to the passenger side connector on the tach. The yellow wire goes to the ignition switch, 12 volts. And then we've got, this goes to the coil. This is, let's see here, the blue wire, and that goes to the ignition coil. So I've got all the ends soldered on, ready to go, and we'll put it all together and see what happens. Okay, we're going to test out the electronic tach drive for the tach for the 57 Golden Hawk. I've wired this into a 63 GT Hawk tach. I've got it hooked up to the coil. I've got the module connected. I got 12 volt power to it. I'm going to set it to ground. Let's see what happens. Ready, aim, fire. Okay, that looks like about 1500, 1400 RPM. Let's check it against. Should be closer to 1,000. Well, so looks like I got to adjust the tach a little bit, but using my wonderful 64 hardtop test bed, we confirm the tach works. Now all we got to do is check the cowl. Now that we confirm that the 63 GT tach works with the electronic drive, now we've got to take and put that innards into the 57 Hawk tach. Cover it, keep the face, keep the pointer, but get rid of all the pulse drive mechanism. Hopefully we can get that to work with the 63 GT mechanism and the electronic drive. So that's going to be our next step. Okay, the goal here is to put the 57 Golden Hawk tach face and pointer on the 63 GT Hawk tach, which we just verified is working. So I've already cleaned up the 57, the face and the pointer. I haven't taken it apart yet. But I'm getting ready to take the 63 tach apart, and the first trick is to get the bezel off. And it is crimped all the way around. So what I like to do, I took a screwdriver and bent it, and I'm going to put that down into the groove here, and I will take this and I will pull it all the way around and raise that lip, and then once we've got the lip up all the way around, we'll pull the bezel off. So let's see how that goes. Okay, I've tried to do this. I really need two hands, but you just keep pulling it up and moving forward and pulling it up, and as you go around you can see it's raising that lip up. And usually 2 tries around, pretty soon you've got the lip ready to pull the whole bezel off. So I'm going to keep pulling it off. I'm about halfway done. Okay, I'm on the second time around, and you can see I've got the bezel just about vertical, and I've still got some more to go. But on the left, that's after 1 time around, and on the right, that's after 2 times. So you can see I just about got it. So once I go around it one more time, should be ready to pull the bezel off. Okay, so we've been around it a couple times, and it looks like we got it peeled off, and at this point the whole thing will come off, and now we can get at the tach. So we will take it apart from the back side, slide the unit out, and then take the face off. And then we'll try to swap the 57 face on. Okay, so we got it assembled, disassembled from the back side, and we've now got the unit loose. So now the trick is going to be to get the pointer off, and it looks like we got a couple screws that hold the face on. So that'll be next. We got the pointer off. The trick there was just to grab the pointer and then hold the mechanism, which is this piece right here, and just gently rock the pointer back and forth until it came loose, and then to pull it off. And then of course the face was the easy part, just 2 screws, and then it came right off. So now we've got the mechanism ready to go. Now I've got to take the 57 tach apart because we're not going to use the tach drive unit. In fact, all I really want out of this is just the face and the pointer. So I'm going to take it all apart. It's been apart already. You can see I've repainted the housing, and the light blue's been done. So we'll take this back apart and then see what it's going to take to mount that face onto the GT tach. Got the mounting bracket off and pulled the back 2 screws out. Now we can see part of the pulse drive. So it looks like I've got to take a couple more nuts out and slide this assembly out, and then I should be able to get at the front. Took the nut off the back side of this, and this just lifts up. You might have to jiggle it with a screwdriver a little bit, and up that comes. Took the nuts off here and here, and now we can slide this piece off if I had 2 hands. So we'll pull that up. With that off, looks like we just have a couple screws, and looks like we got screws to pull this housing off, and then I'm guessing these 2 probably hold the tach unit in. So we'll pull those off and take this apart. So we got screws out. So yep, this just lifts off. Set that over there, and then we lift this off, and we are left with the tach. And it looks like the face is held on with just some clips on the back, so we'll unclip that. We'll take the needle off, hopefully take the needle off, and then see about transferring these over to the GT tach. Pretty straightforward. You just had to bend one of the tabs over, and then the face came off. And of course the pointer, just like before, just held the mechanism in the back, wiggled the pointer a couple times, pulled it forward, and we had the pointer off. So now we're going to see if we can use this face, lay it on top of this face, mark the holes, and drill those, and then we'll attach this face just like the GT face was on. So I've taken the GT Hawk piece and I've matched up the 12 o'clock position and the holes, and I've marked the 2 holes. You can see I got some dimples in there. So now we're going to put that up and drill the holes and then see if we can mount that up. Okay, we got the holes done. Making progress. Here you can see the difference between the 2 tach drives. This one's the original Stuart Warner pulse drive unit, and that ran off of this piece of equipment. And of course that's the original face off that. I'm sorry, that's the original face off of that. And this is the 63 Stuart Warner tach that uses the electronic module. And we've already wired that up right there, and that's what we tested on the hardtop to make sure it worked. And that's the original face off of that. So now we're going to try to mount this face on this drive system. And a little bit of work, but look at that. We got the face on, we got the holes drilled, screws in, got the pointer back on. I clipped the tabs off the side because on this, the face was held on by tabs here and here rather than the screws. So for this one, I just went ahead and trimmed the tabs off, and I set the pointer back down to 0. And as you can see, that's the GT style mechanism. So now I got to figure out how to put all this back into the pulse drive housing, or do I want to put it back into the GT housing? Depends how it's going to fit in the dash. I want it to look right too. So I'll take a look at that, and then of course we'll have to test it as well, make sure it's still functioning. But a lot better than having the pulse drive. Okay, after thinking it through, these housings have different heights. You can see that right there. And rather than figuring out how to put the newer style mechanism into the older style housing, I'm just going to put it all in the original GT housing, because that way I know it fits and whatnot. So I'm going to have to clean this up, repaint it, get it looking good, and then we'll put the whole thing back together. So I tidied up the paint on the outside, and it was originally plated, but I just shot it with a little paint. Kept the markings on the back, and repainted the inside blue, and then got the glass and the trim on. So now I get to go around the edge and tap that down. So once that's done, then it's just a matter of wiring it back up and testing it. So I think we're just about there. Okay, we're back under the hood of the 64 Daytona. We're going to test this out. I've got 12 volts to it. I've got it hooked up to the coil, and we're going to ground it out and see if this works. And look at that. So it's reading about 1200 RPM. Let's check that against the tach. And it looks like we're off about 100 RPM. No, it looks like we're right on the dot, 1200. So looks like we've got it calibrated, and looks like it's working correctly. Flip it back up. So we've got our tach for the 57 Golden Hawk. Now I just got to pop that in the dash. Now we're down to the last step. I did go around the bezel, make sure it was crimped properly and ready to go. Now all we got to do is fill that hole in the dash, and we'll be all set. So fortunately, the piece we used, this is the original GT housing, fits right in, locks in, and looks pretty good. So one more project done. Now we're going to take and get the radio in, but that'll be another deal. So getting close, then I'm going to wire the backside, and I'll be ready to put the dash in the car. So another big piece of the 57 Golden about ready to go.